Guess what, everybody? Finally, CNN has jumped onto the bandwagon. They're reporting this little thing we've come to know as the news. They've just reported hydroxychloroquine is actually saving lives in hospitals. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? I hope you all had a fantastic 4th of July holiday weekend. I know that many people were limited into what they could partake in, but if you're like myself, you at least got to take some much needed time off to spend with family and others. And I hope that you enjoyed that break. But it is back to the grind. And first thing that we're going to talk about today is CNN. And actually reporting something that seems to be somewhat truthful. Now, of course, they're going to have the little CNN spin on it, but I think it's still important to cover because at least we're finally starting to get some eyes put on this particular narrative. So, CNN Health. I know you didn't think it was like CNN Politics or something like that. No, they don't talk about anything truthful unless it's maybe one time to tell the truth about Donald Trump. Trust me, don't get your hopes up like that. It's CNN Health, but it's still a good thing. All right. It says the study finds hydroxychloroquine may have boosted survival, but quote unquote other researchers have doubts. Now, what's important about this particular title is the fact that this is not what the title said when the article was first put out. It was actually edited. The title was edited. It just at first said the study finds that hydroxychloroquine boosts or is an effective treatment. Our study finds hydroxychloroquine is an effective treatment for hospital patients. That's what it was saying, and now it says, oh, but there are some researchers that have doubts. So, of course, like I said, the CNN spin is and has always been inevitable. But let's check out what the article is talking about. A surprise new study found the controversial anti-malarial drug hydroxychloroquine helped patients better survive in the hospital. But the findings, like the federal government's use of the drug itself, were disputed. Man, I just wish that whenever CNN covered politics in any capacity, they would always talk about when quote unquote findings are being disputed by many professionals, like maybe the outcome of elections or fraudulent elections, I should say, but it's neither here nor there. I digress. A team at Henry Ford Health System in Southeast Michigan said their study of 2,541 hospitalized patients found that those given hydroxychloroquine were much less likely to die. I just find it interesting that this study was allowed to be, because obviously this had to be published prior to the executive order that just got signed by the food and the FDA, right? Because they just disallowed the continued use of hydroxychloroquine to treat COVID patients. And so, of course, this study comes out where now the bar will be very, very high to jump if you want to try and re-legitimize the use of hydroxychloroquine to treat COVID patients in hospitals. The article goes on to say that Dr. Marcus Zervos, division head of infectious disease for the Henry Ford Health System, said 26% of those not given hydroxychloroquine died, only compared to 13% of those who got the drug. The team looked back at everyone treated in the hospital system since the first patient in March. In other words, despite what people might have you believe, many doctors in legitimate health systems, not even in alternative, holistic health systems, but in established, quote unquote, legitimate health systems, have been using this drug. Thousands of them, apparently, have been administered. So this idea, once again, that anyone who used hydroxychloroquine was somehow just a conspiracy theorist that was just blindly following Trump is ludicrous, especially when leaders all over the world are doing this, and this is one of the drugs being administered in Africa, and Africa seems to have a better handle on the situation than we do, don't they? Yes, they do. All right, let's continue. It said, the doctor says that overall crude mortality rates were 18.1% in the entire cohort, 13.5% in the hydroxychloroquine alone group, 20.1% among those receiving hydroxychloroquine plus azithromycin, zinc, let's just go with that. 22.4% among the azithromycin, zinc, let's go with that, alone group, and 26.4% for neither drug, which is way higher. The team wrote in a report published in the International Journal of Infectious Diseases. Now, there's a couple of things. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what crude mortality rate means per se. I don't know what that means. I don't know why not just say the mortality rate. But this is the crude mortality rate. And I can't, that kind of beefs with the numbers unless they mean within their hospital. Because as we know, the mortality rate for COVID, even at the beginning, was like 0.011, 0.015. It was some crazy low number that a lower mortality rate than the flu. I assume this means out of the patients that they had. Now, here's what's interesting about this particular study. A lot of studies have found already that actually the most effective way to use hydroxychloroquine is with zinc, not without it. And I want to verify that this is zinc. I just want to make sure, because words are funny in medicine. Oh no, actually that is not zinc. My apologies. That's actually a different drug. Yeah, that's a different drug. So that's not the shorthand or longhand for zinc. So that's my fault. That's actually even more of an important part of the research. So I wasn't crazy. So this study found that even hydroxychloroquine by itself actually reduced mortality rates in hospitals. What's even more interesting is that even without the zinc, according to this particular study that CNN is reporting, it was more effective than not doing anything. I think it also should be mentioned that several studies have shown that actually the reason that the hydroxychloroquine, even when you mix it with zinc, hasn't been more successful than it's been is because of the high regulatory nature of the drug at this moment, not in general, but at this moment, the moment that COVID started, and that high regulatory nature of the drug disallows them from using it on patients that don't have COVID severely. And so it's causing shortages. And so they can't use it in a preventative way like you've heard many of our world leaders have been taking it. Some people I know have been taking it in a preventative way. You know, it'd be an interesting study. I want to know those who take hydroxychloroquine for arthritis, what is their hospitalization rate? Because I don't know if y'all know this, but rheumatoid arthritis, the number one way to fight that particular ailment is with hydroxychloroquine. So this study is finding that whatever you've been told about the failures of hydroxychloroquine in early March, as far as treating COVID is concerned, was not exactly what they portrayed it to be. Once again, not using hydroxychloroquine according to the study from the Henry Ford Health System in Southeast Michigan. Once again, that was published in this, and it was published in the International Journal of Infectious Diseases. According to that study, you had a higher likelihood of dying if you did not take hydroxychloroquine. And I'll be interested. Oh, you know what? Azithromycin, yeah, that sounds about right. that's the one that's been given to people who have a heart issue, because you can't use zinc in combination with hydroxychloroquine if they have a heart problem, because it could, disrupt. It can cause unnatural beats and things like that, and so that could be problematic. This doesn't even, once again, this study doesn't even include all the positive tests that we've seen come about with when zinc was used in conjunction with hydroxychloroquine. Now let's see what do the people who dispute the study say. Now, like I said, this is where the CNN spin comes in. It's a surprising finding because several other studies have found no benefit from hydroxychloroquine, a drug originally developed to treat and prevent malaria. President Trump touted the drug heavily, but later studies found not only did patients not do better if they got the drug, they were most likely to suffer from cardiac side effects. So I want you to know something. They did not link that study. Do you understand why? For those of you who have been following this channel for some time, you know exactly why. Because that was a study put in the Lancet. The Lancet is a peer-reviewed journal that is used, I think it originated in the UK. That article had to be retracted. I found this out after covering the story before, right? So I covered the story of the study before and was like, this doesn't make any sense. The numbers aren't making any sense. And then the way that they're presenting them don't make any sense. And when you look at who paid for the study, it was largely paid for by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So of course that was a major red flag. That same study that was paid for by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation was then retracted. I found out through a report by MD at Harvard working in the ER, who also just happens to review what? 1 second, people. My camera got too hot, but we'll be back in a second. In the meantime, what the MD reported was that article had to be retracted. You go into that article, or the retraction of that article in the Lancet, and what it shows is that when asked to provide the data so that they can replicate the study, which is vital to the scientific method, if you know anything about scientific method, it's vital. You have to be able to replicate the study and get the same results almost every time. When asked to provide that data, they refused to give it to them. Like, it's almost like they didn't have the data, or they were faking the data in order to push a specific agenda, an agenda, by the way, that at the time led to 3 countries in the EU banning the use of hydroxychloroquine altogether. That study directly led to those countries making that decision, and then we later found out that the decision made by those 3 nations was made based off of a study that was retracted by a major medical journal. So they make this claim. They spin this story in such a way, oh, Donald Trump touted the drug heavily, so did other world leaders. But later studies found out not only did patients not do better if they got the drug, they were more likely to suffer of cardiac effects. This is exactly what I was talking about. The study. That study got retracted, and yet they are still speaking as if that study is true, which is why they don't use any numbers. They don't tell you where that study came from. And yet, whenever someone has to tell you basic truths about hydroxychloroquine, people say, well, all these other studies say otherwise. And then when they talk about all these other studies, nobody actually presents the studies to you. So, that's basically as far as that goes. That's as far as they go with that. Oh, all these other studies contradict this though. So yeah, we don't know about that, even though they've been studying this since literally March. They've been using a blind study since March. So I would love to know what your thoughts are about this. Like this video, share this video, leave a comment below. But always remember, more than anything else, ladies and gentlemen, find your balance. Peace. If you like that segment of Mikasa Sukasa, don't forget to like the video and smash that subscribe button. Want access to members only live streams, behind the scenes footage, and other premium content? Well, you can endorse us on Rockfin Premium, become a patron through Patreon, or you can sign up for the MCSC Premium membership through YouTube. All the links are in the description below. But hey, more than anything else, always remember,
Find your balance.
Find your balance.
Find your balance.
Find your balance. Find your balance.
Find your balance. Find your balance.
Always remember, more than anything else, find your balance.
peace.